Scream 5 is officially in theaters now, and it's time to dive in and rank all 5 Scream movies from worst to best. But of course, with this saying, there might be some spoilers for all the Scream movies involved, so if you haven't seen them all yet, definitely go watch them all, then come back to this ranking so we can have a great discussion down below in the comment section. And if you're new here and you love talking movies, this is the right channel for you guys. I am the Wolf of Geek Street. My name is Zach. I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope you hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies every day over here. I can't wait to see your guys' thoughts and what your guys' ranking is on the Scream franchise. So let's dive into it right now. As a point of reference, all these movies, I pretty much like the Scream franchise to even love all of them. And also, I'm new to this party. I actually saw the first Scream movie for the very first time back in October and ended up binging them all with my girlfriend and having such a blast with her with these and having a total joy. Almost only one of these movies I didn't like. Like, I liked it, but I didn't love it. Which, speaking of the movie that is in my last place, at my number 5, it is Scream 3. This movie has elements to it that I was quite shocked that no one had told me about. I didn't know that Jay and Silent Bob took place in this universe, as well as the likes Carrie Fisher showing up in this. What? The whole thing with this and almost every single one of the Scream films is there is a commentary and meta-ness to the entire society and what is kind of going on in that time period of filmmaking. Scream 3 is very much a parody to its nature and maybe too much of its nature towards threequels in a trilogy and how a third film ends up going about. And some of that works and some of it doesn't. Some of the weakest elements for me in this movie happens to actually be the twist of this all, and with the twist, the killer ending up being someone related to Sidney Prescott. I didn't love that. I didn't love that this half-brother was coming after her, and I actually felt like it was a little bit dumbed down. And even in the reveal and execution, I just sat there and I never felt that believability. It kind of skewed a little bit too far away from Sidney. Even though it was a part of her family, I never thought it was too great there. As well as adding in Neve Campbell had a lot of scheduling conflicts within this movie, so she's actually really not even in this movie, and this is more of a Gail and Dewey type story trying to figure out the mystery so Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott does not have to come back. And again, even adding in there a little bit more, I love Gail, I love Dewey, and I love their relationship and their banter with one another, but I never felt that they were the right way to take this franchise going forward. And for me with Sidney, while she is for me still the main character of this entire Scream franchise, without her company really much being the main character of this light and having the most runtime, you really much feel for it. It doesn't always work, and I feel like there was a lot more for Scream 3 that I really wish was in here. When it comes down to the tension and the kills, they're fun for the most part, and again, there is a fun meta-ness to it all, but the thing I think that does actually drag this movie down completely is the pacing. I find this movie to be way too long for the format that it was trying to tell, and I just feel like maybe a couple more script rewrites would have maybe helped this one out. I honestly will say, thankfully, this was not the actual conclusion to the Scream franchise, or else I think it would have gone out on a dud. And now coming down at my number 4, it is Scream 2. Now, 4 and up, I nearly really like to love all these movies. So this is just a point of reference to say how great the Scream franchise is. And at my number 4, it is Scream 2, the sequel that came out a year later after the original Scream, and absolutely came out with one of the best intros to any horror film that I've ever seen. That introduction kill with, of course, Jada Pinkett Smith going up on stage and bleeding out and everyone thinking it is stunt. It is grand. It is really much sets up the entire tone of what a sequel happens to be and what happens in a sequel, because again, with a Scream movie, the meta commentary on how great sequels can be compared to the originals, and I don't think this is better than the original, and I don't think it was supposed to be, but Wes Craven still set out to make such a fantastic movie that has some brutal kills, some execution to it, with especially its killers who are absolutely insane. And while there are 2 of them in here, I liked one way more than the other, but that's okay, because the reveal with the reporter ending up being this person who hates Sidney Prescott and her family, and of course her mother, and also I didn't love that. And of course it was Billy Loomis's mom. I didn't love that. But the crazy kid that, of course, Timothy Olyphant plays, I thought was awesome, and I think he actually hit the mark right then and there. And I wish they would have just kept it as him compared adding into just one more twist that, of course, no, it's not just him. I think there would have been a little bit more of a better story to have been told right there. But the conclusive nature of moving Sydney's story along, seeing her PTSD element, seeing how nervous and nerve-wracking she is about Ghostface, for me, there are so many different elements in here that I very much love about Scream 2, and I also really much just appreciate so wholeheartedly. I think this is, again, one of those really good sequels that adds a lot to this universe, but also just has a lot of fun. Now, coming down at my number 3, it is Scream 4. This, of course, takes place in 2011. That's when it was also released, and they have a lot of fun with this movie with all of its antiques, and in general, this was supposed to be the next start for a new Scream trilogy. Sadly, the film did not perform well, so it never got to go on, and as well, this was Wes Craven's final movie, which is very sad because I think even though this was a great Scream movie, and in general, just a great horror movie, it's sad because we never got more Wes Craven after this, and I would have liked to see what his direction would have been with the later Scream movies, say the next Scream 5 and 6, what he would have had planned. But for me with Scream 4, what I really much like about this is actually the reveal of the killer in this, and I like the way that it is revealed to be someone who is right next to Sidney Prescott. Roberts is absolutely incredible in this as the killer, but also in general, you don't really see where it's going until those very moments. And I love how this movie really much plays up on that antique of who is the killer and why are they doing this. And also, I think what we should really much look at Scream 4 is that as a legacy sequel, this is one of the better ones. You know, it kind of did what legacy sequels were doing before, say Halloween 2018, Star Wars, Jurassic World, all of them kind of came around. This was one of the first ones, bringing back the old cast and mixing in a new cast. But I actually think the one thing that this film doesn't do as great as some of the other legacy sequels that come after it is the reason is they focus too much on the original characters, and I get it, that's what we are so loving, and that's what we love about them, but I also think we needed to care about these newer characters as well. Commentary and meta-ness on all the horror films coming around 2011 was what Wes Craven did so well in this, absolutely executing such a bloody and brutal sequel. This is absolutely the bloodiest horror film inside the Scream franchise yet, and you see it in every single one of the kills. 2011, that's how a lot of horror movies were. It had that same tone and antique, but even though it had that new tone, it still mixed in the meta-ness, the commentary, and the absolute greatness of what makes Scream. Even in general, the way that it plays on the technological aspects of how technology has changed by 2011. But that's where I want to get to my number 2, because my number 2 is the latest Scream movie, Scream 5, which takes everything that Scream 4 did and pretty much perfects what a legacy sequel is. It is a perfect legacy sequel. New characters to cheer for like Melissa, Sam, and of course Jenna Ortega, who are both phenomenal, outstanding stars that if they decide to do more Scream films, I could easily see them being the new frontrunners in there, or maybe if they did, you don't know. The thing about Scream 5 is I love how they were able to develop this, and one of the biggest things about this is the reveal of the killer in this, or killers, is one of the best things that we have seen in Scream yet, because I haven't felt this way where I was like, oh my god, right at the last moment, I finally guessed it. The second it clicks for everyone, it clicks for the audience, and it is damn awesome how they were able to do this, and Wes Craven would be so damn proud. Like I mentioned, how Scream 4 played around with a lot more of the technology aspect of how it is and how we're not in the 90s anymore. 2022's Scream now plays on that as well in a more crucial element that makes more fun of it all. Again, making fun of the 90s horror films compared to the more elevated horror that we are getting now today compared to, you know, kids don't watch slasher films anymore. It's more of the Midsommers, the Hereditaries, the Babadooks. They play on that, as well as the toxic fandom that revolves around so many different franchises, a la Jurassic World, a la Star Wars, whatever you want to say about it, Scream plays on that, and I thought the commentary for this, while very on the nose, very important and works wonders. I even think this film had some of the best kills that we have seen yet inside a Scream movie, and I was just very much pleasantly surprised to see how they were able to bring those to life. Also, the screen time that they give to the legacy characters in here, it was phenomenal to see the time that they gave. Well, yes, maybe I did want a little bit more time with all of them to update their lives and see what's going on. It was just enough to settle them in and really much give our new characters enough love. Scream 5 is absolutely phenomenal. I have an entire review of it over on my channel. You can go check that out up above. love, and definitely if you want more of my thoughts, they'll be over there. Now, at my number 1, it is of course the original Scream. I don't think anything will ever top Wes Craven's masterpiece, which is Scream. From the opening shot to the opening kill to everything throughout, it is one of the best horror films that was ever created and ever will be created. It's a movie that I think it was, again, way ahead of its time. No horror film was really much doing that, and I remember even as a kid, I never really had the inkling to go watch it. I wasn't the biggest fan of slasher films growing up, but then once I heard, and my girlfriend tells me, no, this is a commentary, it's meta, they play on it all, my intrigue rose, and then I went and saw it, and I fucking loved it. Funny, it's creepy, it's satirical, it's intense, and it's brutal, and I love that, because the killers in this aren't just, you know, a monster that you can put a ton of bullets into them and they won't die. No, these are just normal human beings who are absolutely psychopaths who are doing this for their own reasoning of what they should or shouldn't be doing. I actually think the writing for this is one of the strongest that has ever been done in a horror film. The way that, again, they play on the commentary of slasher flicks within the 90s and actually making fun of them, but playing along with them. Campbell's absolutely incredible as Sidney Prescott, and she continues to be to this day. Dewey Riley, of course, played by David Arquette, is also great, and I loved the character of Dewey and just how much you can care about him. And even, of course, Gale Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, was such a standout. This is, again, an iconic slasher movie that will always be one of the best that was ever made. It might always be in the top 3 slasher movies ever made. I love Scream. I think this is Wes Craven's masterpiece, and in general, I'm sure a lot of you guys agree with me as well. I don't think anything will ever top this. But of course, guys, that's my ranking of all the 5 Scream movies. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are on this movies. Do you guys love them all? Do you hate them all? Do you even agree with my ranking, or do you have a different ranking? Let's discuss it all down below. Make sure again to leave a comment, hit that like and subscribe button, head on over to Samsung Films on how to see films early, and of course, it's a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I would not be able to do this. So of course, until next time, stay classy.